Hey, have you ever had a psychic reading? Or an energy reading? Well, get ready to experience one without having to actually personally experience one. Welcome to Sacred Comedy, where we bring healing experiences with hilarious comedians to your ears and your eyes. My name is Jennifer Wai, and one of the things that I do, besides produce and host the show, is I'm an intuitive consultant. It's a little like a psychic life coach where I connect with people's energy fields, their personal guidance systems, if you will, and channel messages for my clients. I receive these messages in words, images, feelings, and even physical sensations based on the questions that I ask. Today is a special treat because it's the very first time I have ever done this on a podcast. But because our special guest, comedian and photographer Christiana Jackson, is so incredibly amazing, it was a beautiful experience and uninterrupted by ads. I mean, how often do you get to listen to a podcast without being a sales target? For now. Mama's got to pay rent, so for now. If you like this episode, please go ahead and subscribe, follow us, rate, like, leave a comment, and share with your friends. Now you get to sit back, or get stepping, or start cleaning, because I'm so happy that you're here with us. Enjoy. So welcome, Christiana Jackson.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Comedy. Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you for joining in this very experimental episode because it's I've never done a reading. I've never really recorded it, and I actually don't even do them with video. I usually do them. Yeah. I do them like only audio because I just get weirded out. But I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna
I can always turn off my camera if it makes you feel more comfortable.
No.
Just talking into the void.
No. But yeah, I'm happy to hear that you have some time off from the old jobby job, and
Yeah.
we can continue that conversation. So you're doing comedy. I mean, you're stand up. You're a photographer. You're like an artist. You're fully all around. So what are you working on right now?
Oh my God, great question. So yes, basically last year I started a new job, and that company was a sinking ship. And then I started another new job, and then that company is sinking slower. So our jobs got outsourced to. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I was like, it saves a lot of money. But anyway, last year because I had that, I was like, yeah, I was like, I kind of get it. You're paying us a lot of money in America. You can pay them pennies on the dollar in Brazil. So I'm like, yeah. Anyway, but so last year I wasn't able to do a lot of comedy just because I was so focused on like, hey, I need to like keep these jobs. And then I was focused on producing my gallery show that I had last year, which was a show of my nudes. So that took a lot of, it took a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot to go through. But it was good. It was all very good, but it was also just like a lot of things came up. But anyway, so then this year, so basically I wasn't able to do as much comedy as I wanted to last year. So then the past 2 months since I've been, is it furloughed? No, because furloughed means you're coming back. Let go. Let's just say let go.
Yeah.
My frozen moment. Let it go. Anyway, I've just been doing a lot of stand up, but then this month, like April, I'm like, all right, I need to focus on doing stand up. Obviously, is the immediate instant gratification. And obviously, like I have a lot to talk about I was already starting to do jokes about my job anyway. And then the jokes that I had written last year. So I'm like, I need to go back to those jokes. There's a lot of material that I need to work on.
Yeah.
But the next month, I'm like, I need to like really get focused on um, doing all of the kind of admin stuff with my gallery show. So that way I'll be able to like blow it up and it be a bigger thing. So I'm going to slow down with comedy and then just like focus. There's a lot of work that I want to produce as well, like new photos that I've taken and new ideas. And like I want to create posters because I feel like I've always loved posters. And there were some posters incorporated in the show, but I just feel like also it's a more accessible way of creating art and making art accessible to like people to purchase. But I'm also like, it's like just making making the time to do it and being like, okay, I can't do these shows. So yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I'm excited that you told me that because before we got on the call, I go through a process where I actually sort of talk to your energy. So I kind of put myself in a little bit
Oh,
of a state. So, and then I write out a couple of pages of notes and just things
oh,
that are coming back. It's kind of like a conversation. And I want us to talk about all the stuff that you're working on this year and think about kind of any questions that you might have in terms
okay,
of
cool.
like what you'd like to, what can help or what can. So when I usually do this process, I'm not like I don't just I'm not like waiting to talk to like any dead people or anything like that. Although that does happen from time to time. I'm not a registered medium like a died. I don't do that by choice. But what I do, the kind of questions I do ask are kind of like, where are you on your journey right now? Like,
Mm,
what do you need, right? What do you need to put you into the best sort of most aligned place for you and your soul?
mm.
And your higher self was the main voice I was talking to, which isn't
Ah,
always the case, but ooh, I love her. I love her. Anyway, but first, what we're going to do is we're going to actually do a little bit of an opening. I do kind of an opening meditation or an opening prayer.
cool.
Sorry, everybody in the audience who's listening. I'm cutting this part out.
That's a great meditation.
Oh, sweet. Too
Yeah.
bad you guys missed it, suckers. Just kidding. You're going to feel the energy from it. So hopefully
Yeah, no, that was lovely.
oh, good. I'm glad. Do you notice any sensations in your body?
I mean, I do have my period, so I'm cramping.
Oh, no.
But yeah,
On the
yeah,
full
yeah.
moon, you have your period.
Oh, it's the full moon?
It is this morning
Mm.
at like 3 a.m.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Oh, interesting.
So
Anyway,
interesting.
yeah.
Well, how about this? I'm gonna read through the notes that I took.
Okay, cool.
And then I want you to just kind of think about them. And it's just also going to help us open up more space for, exactly what you have conscious questions for.
Okay,
All
cool.
right. So, um, are you a Cancer or a Pisces?
Cancer.
Oh my God. Okay. Did I know that already?
Probably, but it was
Maybe,
a lot of
probably.
things have happened since you know, it's probably somewhere in your brain, but
It
like
is
not,
somewhere
yeah.
in there. Yeah. Do you have anything happening with your left shoulder, like around your neck? Just any little thing? Or do you
Um,
hold stuff on that side?
I've had stuff. I've had surgery twice on my left armpit for lymph
Oh.
nodes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Check. Got it. Okay. Awesome. I mean, just kidding. That must have really fucking sucked. Are
Yeah,
you
you know.
okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was
Okay.
a while ago, but yeah.
Okay.
There is something about the left side of my body though, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get into that. All right. So it's funny because so as I start this, I really just kind of open up a conversation and I have like a conversation like I would have with you. And I'm like funny. I try to be funny and me and whatever. And it's funny, I was just talking about her. I was like, God, I love her. And what came through was loving her is easy.
Oh, thank
So that's
you.
just like a cute message. Um, one of the first things that came through, which I always know is a true hit because it usually uses words that I don't know. Um, she wants to be clean. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And she wants to be clear of foibles. Do you know what
Mm.
the word foibles means?
Yeah,
You're probably way better at vocabulary than
I don't think I've ever used that word, but I know what
I.
it means. Errors, yeah,
Yep, I looked it up. It's a minor weakness or eccentricity in someone's character.
mm,
So you want to be clear of that. So you want to be clear of any and all sort of little bits and pieces that faults,
yeah.
potentially liabilities. Another thing that came through is it's so weird. She wants to be free of acquiescence. And I know what acquiescence means, but I always look up the word, just a reluctant acceptance. So you want to you want to feel more clear when you're making a decision and a choice. You don't want to have to worry about being persuaded one way or another, or
That
having
is
to
very
accept
true.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I just asked why. And this was interesting. You might have to kind of illuminate this a little. She holds strength in her hands. So I was just thinking, so that can mean physical, that can mean metaphysical. So your strength is, you have it. And then it came through in your wrists. And I was like, okay. And then the only sort of sentence that came through with that was, her wrists are on display. And I don't know what that means. Does that mean anything to you? Like, do you have a thing with wrists? Do you have strong wrists or weak wrists or?
It's actually interesting. I used to have weak hands for a long time. Like growing up, I had weak hands. I remember like braiding my doll's hair, and like my hands would hurt. They are a lot. I don't know when they stopped being weak. I probably when I started eating meat more. I don't know. I don't know when they stopped being weak, but I thought I grew up eating meat. But
Yeah.
anyway, but I have been doing yoga again, so I think that might be the association,
Oh,
maybe,
wow.
because
Nice.
it's getting, your wrists are an important part. I have a tattoo on one of my wrists, but it's not anything that's important.
Okay.
Well,
But it's
it
on
was
display.
it's the tattoo is pretty. It's
Oh, that's
actually of
great.
all my. You can't really see it.
That's cool though.
It's part of my past, uh, but that is interesting.
That's interesting. Interesting. There's a lot of those. Okay. And then I kind of came back and I said, well, what does she need? And what came in is that you need to hear words of praise. Like, you need
Hmm.
to take it in. You need to let them sink in because you brush them off. And then
Mm,
I asked, why does she brush them off? And what came through is, it actually hurts you to accept them.
mm,
Words of praise. And I was like, how's that? Like, what does that mean? And what came through is that it's like a part of you, like a younger self that just doesn't believe it. It's a trust thing. Does that
mm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So just coming back again, one thing that you need to remember is to actually hear the words of praise. And if it's difficult to accept them and not, or let them sink in, then I just recommend observing that part of you that's like, nope, not feeling it. Nope, not taking it in. Nope, not true. Don't believe him. Don't believe it. So it's just something to consider, and it's something to be aware of where your mind goes when you do receive praise.
Mm,
Because this is all really, it's not like, here's the magic pill. It's like, this is just stuff to be aware of. And that
mm-hmm.
stuff is kind of like, again, it's your higher self that's coming in with all of this. And I said, well, what's the best way to trust, kind of along
Mm,
these lines? And what came through was holding herself accountable. So by holding yourself accountable and recognizing where a lot of the trust issues can also be internal. It's definitely external, but by holding yourself accountable, you learn a little bit more discernment in terms of what you can believe and what you won't believe.
mm.
And that's when I was like, is this her higher self? And it was like, yes, of course. Nice to meet you. And I was so excited, I almost started crying. I was like, oh, thank you so much for talking to me. And the voice was like, well, thank you so much for inviting me. It was really nice. I love people's, like, I call it a personal guidance system. So it's like,
Mm,
it's your body, it's your energy, it's your higher self, it's your guiding spirits, it's your angels, it's whoever's around you. I like to think of it as just a PGS because it's a way to really to listen. It
yeah.
just means that it's something that you're listening to.
Yeah.
Um so I said, okay, how can she hold herself accountable? And the answer was it was like, get over your reluctance first.
Mm,
So getting over your reluctance to hold yourself accountable.
mm.
Well, I kind of want to ask a little bit more. So just give me a sec. How does she? Where is she reluctant with holding herself accountable? It's funny. You don't believe that you can hold yourself accountable. It's like you almost don't trust yourself to do it. Whatever it is. Which is not a thing. It's not true. It's just a story. It's not the reality of you. So get over the reluctance first. So then I whispered this aloud because I don't like asking this question because it's always bad stuff. And I don't like telling people bad stuff because I'm a people pleaser, which is a bad thing to be when you're intuitive. So I was like, I whispered, what's the biggest lesson she needs to learn? And the voice was like, a little louder. I couldn't hear you. So I was like, okay, what is the biggest lesson that you need to learn? And what came through was how to hold your head up higher. To espouse, again, a word I don't use, to espouse the righteous words of her heart. So usually when phrases like that come in, it's important to receive the vibration of what each of those words is. So to espouse the righteous words of your heart. And when you hear the word righteous, a lot of times it's like we're using that because we don't feel that we have the right to, or you know what I mean? So those words of your heart, whatever's inside of your heart, there's a righteousness in there that deserves listening and speaking out. What is this? Words of her heart. Okay. And as I kind of asked, like, how can she realize this? What is that? What does she need to realize? And instantly, she's unbreakable. She's unbreakable. And you can laugh in the face at any attempts.
That's very true.
So like any attempts to break you, it's just, and I literally saw you being like, ha ha ha, you know, good try. Not happening.
Many people have tried. That's in many different. Well, yeah, no, that is very, very, very true. I don't want to say I'm not Teflon, but I'm. Many people have tried, and it's like, nah, all right, well, good luck.
It's totally 100% true, and you like, there's no. It's literally just is. That's just how it is. That there's no breaking you. Like even transitioning away from this body, that's not gonna break you. Nothing's gonna break you. Ever. Then that's wow. Can you teach me how to do that? Okay. So then it was really like, no one has the power to hurt you. No one. Like absolutely no one. Remember this, feel it, because it is so true. And then the next kind of section that came in was sometimes your heart cries out in pain. And when that happens, trust that your soul knows what to do. And then I, being nosy, was like, well, what is that? What is that? Like, what is it that you need to do? And I see you sort of, the visual came in through, it's really more like dive into it, like drink it. I could see you kind of diving into almost like like a pool of something, just like a viscous something, and you're just like, I'm in it. And then you're drinking it, you're taking it in, you let it nourish you again, because the depths of the pain reveal the capacity for love. So it's a beautiful thing to have the capacity to hold that pain. However, and you gotta sink into it. A lot of people avoid pain, myself included, in different ways. But the solution for you is to go deeper in. And as a Cancer, I'm sure that's nothing, to really swim in it, to dive straight down to the bottom to roll around there. Be like, okay, this is where I am. This is it. To allow that pain to, it's not going to swallow you whole. That's a thing that people always say. And it is it's a legitimate fear for some people. But the key here for you is to remember that you need to see what's down there, because that's the space that's the capacity of love that you have. And that's the most important thing in the world. And you're, again, to trust that your soul knows what to do. And also, I want you to keep in mind, do you have any questions? I should have stopped earlier, but do you have any questions so far?
Right now, I'm taking it all in because it's like certain pieces. I'm like, it's like almost like a puzzle coming together, and I'm like, so a lot of
Okay.
it is making sense. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't have any questions yet. It's all kind of like, okay.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm almost done with this. So she has hangups. Not bolting is a hangup. So
Hmm.
kind of like giving things a chance to expand. It's sort of like I'm not running away from this. But the impression here is that maybe there are times where you should run away from it. So
Oh,
like
interesting.
not like not being the person who's like, okay, bye, like I'm out of here, because it's almost like you're like, no, we're gonna give this a chance. That's
I
like one of your hangups. I don't know. Go ahead.
hmm. I do think that that can be, but then I also feel like oftentimes I'm guided to like, like for example with work, I was like, I had two jobs last year, and the first one I was like, nah, man, this isn't. This is. As soon as I started, I was like, this feels like a scam. I think this is a real company. La da da. And then, I think I bide my time. Like I'll like, because I don't just bulk. 'Cause I need a plan.
Sure.
So, and I definitely was. I pray every day, so I definitely prayed about it. And then when the other job came through, I was like, out. Yeah.
Oh,
And
sweet.
then with
Okay.
this job, I was actually the job that also is not doing well. I think that's like apparently the only places that hire me are like, well, we'll see how she does while we're open. But anyway, I already was at a place where I was like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here, and it was a hybrid job, and I was like, I want a remote job because I love to travel and stuff. And so when it happened, I was actually like, this worked out perfectly because I only worked there for like 7.5 months. I already felt like I didn't belong there. I didn't. It was very toxic, da, da, da. But I didn't want to. Somebody told me not to just bolt. And then I ended up getting a severance, and
Oh, that's
now I'm
perfect.
chilling a little bit. And then in terms of, I guess I have to figure out what that, because in terms of relationships, like I mean, I cut motherfuckers off.
Oh,
Like that's
really?
what I am. Oh yeah, no, I'm a bolt in the night. Actually, like if I'm not getting what I if I can like if I'm not getting what I need from someone,
Yeah.
I'm very, especially the older that I get and the more that I have like bigger goals and things that I want to achieve and just less patience, the faster I'm like, yeah, okay, but that's, I don't have time for this. Like
Okay.
this doesn't interest me. But I will have to figure out in what situations that is
Yeah, I asked a little and it was kind of coming through about but I'm going to, like, with what you said, I kind of want to dig in a little bit deeper, because it's like there are some situations, I think, ones that have like locked your heart in a little. Heart meaning like you have a sense of expectation for it. Um
mm,
but then I'm like, okay, well then what would help? Because I kind of don't feel like that was the correct message. So when I ask what has helped, it says, see where the struggle is, drill down into it as far as you can go, and imagine that you have no power. Just as a thought exercise, right?
mm,
Because you have power, but just almost like allow it as like a thought experiment. So like imagining that, like, okay, this is a situation that even if you do kind of have power in it, just tell yourself, I have no power here. And then just listen for what comes up. However, I do want to kind of dig in. I'm just going to ask. So I'm just going to kind of go somewhere real quick. And I just want to kind of ask like what that was about. What
Okay,
is this
cool.
message about not bolting? So I think it's about when you have your heart set on something. So
Hmm.
when you have your heart set on something, it can be difficult. Say that again. It can be difficult to feel like it's worth it. When is it worth it? Why shouldn't she listen to that? It all comes back to the trust thing. So it just comes back to trusting yourself. And you clearly did it with this job because you were like, something tells me,
Yeah.
and when you pray, you are listening.
Yeah.
So you're getting that. So I just want to see if there's anything else that wants to come through in regards to that or anything else. Is there anything else? Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only other thing that's coming in is that you're in the zone.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm just glad the spirit wasn't like, tell her she's got to stop hoeing so much. That was my biggest.
They don't give a flying fuck about that. I'll
I
tell
mean,
you, they don't.
I mean, I feel that way, but then I'm always like, what if they're like, all right, listen, we've been watching you, and but I have slowed down. Um, I have definitely slowed down. I'm more
Not a problem.
quality over quantity.
Yeah, it's not a problem. It's all part of your experience in this body. You have
It's very
every
true.
right to do that. I mean, I think a lot of time, and that's come up a lot in other readings for me, for other people. It's like you have spirit doesn't see it that way.
Yeah.
Christianity might see it that way, or like
Yeah.
certain, like
No, it's
women's
very true.
sexuality. I mean, there's so many messages that women can't be sexual. But the reality is, not only are we sexual, we're actually more interested in uh, new experiences more often than men are. We like novel sex. This is something that's actually been studied, but like no one talks about it because, women are hoes,
Yeah.
and not men, couldn't possibly be the men who are hoes. But I think things are starting to kind of come around. But the truth of the matter is, women seek out novel sex more than men do. Men
Mm.
kind of, men are kind like it's all been twisted around on
Yeah.
purpose. So remember that you can do whatever the fuck you want with your body. This is your body. This is your time, and you can experiment. You learn about yourself through those processes. You learn where your limits are. What else do you want to say about that? Yeah, you're good. Like your heart's always, it's not like I don't get a sense that with these men you're expecting like,
No,
a prince out of it. Like I
not at
don't,
all.
so that's not, if that was the case, then maybe we would have a problem, but I don't feel like that's the issue. That's not an issue at all.
That's
So I
good.
think there's not, you have, you probably have one of the more healthy perspectives when it comes to romantic partners
I
on
think
the
so
planet.
too, because the thing that's funny is people and sorry that's my husband. People and like comedians always be like, when are you gonna settle down? And I'm like, who are these men I'm supposed to settle down with? Because the thing is, and it also ties into which first thank you. This was wonderful. It's
You're
actually
welcome.
perfect timing. This was perfect timing because I usually go and get readings from this older Dominican woman on 125th Street here in Harlem. And then you're like, dude, I was like, oh, there we go. I saved $40. Anyway, she's
Wait,
she's wonderful, but this was great. This was
I'm sure.
totally different energy to
Yeah.
it. But I think one of the things that you're saying about me being unbreakable is part of the reason that I know I'm not in a relationship, because men do not like, I mean, not to say that all men are toxic and whatever, but at the end of the day, men do not understand how to deal with me, how to handle me, how to, like, there's a lot of different things going on in my life. I have a lot of different interests. I have a lot of different experiences. and they know that I will be fine. Men tend to be they want to be needed, and I don't need a man. I would like a man. I want a man. What one that works, not just one that, like, fits in our lives, fit together.
Yeah, and a
But
job
they
would be great too.
no, yeah, definitely one that works and earns money as well. But it's like, I think men do get the sense of like, oh, she does not need me, and she will be fine with or without me. And I do think it makes it complicated, because then if men do become attached emotionally, I think they are scared, like, this, I'm gonna get hurt from this woman, and which is understandable. But it's also just like, hey man, I'm trying to have a good time. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Yes.
not. I know you're not. I know you're not the dude. It's fine. But yeah, no, this is I next time somebody, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna play them this clip. I'll be like, okay, well, actually, if you
I
listen,
love it.
this is not, it's not me. It's me, kind of
Yeah.
seeing the world for what it is and accepting it. But also, I just have other stuff I'm working on,
Yeah.
working
And
towards,
honestly,
want to
people
achieve.
people feel like that's not possible, which is insane to me because people are just seeing reflections of themselves most of the time. People who break easily are probably not, they can't vibe with you because it's
Oh
just
yeah.
too foreign, I think, in a way. And I again, it's like I was surprised to get that because I feel like those are the kinds of things that I feel like I would tell someone if they were like not feeling good. I'm like, you're so strong, don't worry. You're like, but this is literally a part of your essence. This is just who you are. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not like optional. I did pull a card for you as well.
Okay, cool.
Um, and it's funny because I pulled it once and I didn't like it. And then I pulled it again and I was like, okay, fine. Gotcha. So this card is trust
Ah,
yourself. And I can I'll send you a photo. This is from everybody,
it's
the
beautiful.
Sacred Rebels Oracle deck, which I really love. I'm not a tarot reader because I can't read. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like it's too complicated for me. Like there's too many
Mm,
things to learn, and I'm a dummy. So I like oracle cards because they're just easier. They're just like you
mm.
pull one and then there's like a whole thing about it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I will send it to you, but I
Okay,
will,
dope.
because there's also like a little healing process there, which is really nice. So I'm just going to read a little bit from it. Everybody, this is from the Sacred Rebels Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. This is not by me. I did not write this. Okay. Um, Trust yourself. And also, everyone out there listening, trust yourself is a great message. I actually got this card last week. It's a wonderful message for anybody. I highly recommend buying this deck. Um, and I've had healers be like, "Don't read other people's stuff on on your podcast." And I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's your
So
podcast. You can do
it's
whatever
my
you want.
podcast. I find people who have amazing tools, I like to recommend them to other people. Okay.
Yeah.
So, everyone take this in if you need the message to trust yourself. You are wise. You know how to grow, even without knowing how you know. Now, I pulled this card before I did your reading. And that's always like a great confirmation because so much that this card says is usually goes along with what the reading is. Um, like the ancient forests, spectacular galaxies, and the acorn that becomes the oak, there is a natural intelligence for growth that is beyond logic and reason. It just happens. At the deepest levels, we are governed by this force that is so palpable, it literally shapes the world. At the same time, it is so invisible that sometimes we forget its presence and worry that our minds have to work everything out for life to happen, for us to be all
Mm,
right. We can become unnecessarily anxious about our affairs and how life will unfold. This oracle brings the message that you are growing. You really are. Don't doubt it. Even if you don't see it yet, remember that so much is happening when the seed is still unbroken in the ground. Below the earth, it is summoning up all the might and power and force that it needs to push up above the soil, burst up into the light. It is essential for anything good to happen later on. Yet we don't see any of that. We just have to trust that things will happen when the time is right.
Mm.
So that seems
Yeah,
to fit pretty well with
that's totally where I'm at.
yeah.
That's 100% where I'm at. Like yesterday, I was telling myself, I was like, you know what? We have. I always refer to myself as we because it's like not just me. It's all of the energies in my life
Same.
and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I was
I love
thinking
that.
about it, and I was like, like we've there like 3 years ago, I spent 4 months in Mexico, and before I left, I was very stressed out about like oh, I wanted to sublet my place and da da da. And then, but then also my apartment is very much lived in, so I'm like, it's not like an easy like, oh, I just it's not easy to like just like wipe the slate clean. And then I remember I told myself, I'm like, hey, instead of focusing on um finding a subletter, why don't you just focus on manifesting having getting a job while you're there. I was only spent 2 months there. Like, why don't you just focus on like just being open and having some type of money come in, like be finding a way to be able to make money. And then like 5 days into being in Mexico, someone hit me up. They're like, "Hey, there's this like virtual job. Do you want to do that? Blah blah blah." And then that job I was not good for my like I it was in a platform and when I was asleep, I was in the platform the whole time, and I was like, "This isn't good." So then I was
Oh
like, "All right, I
shit.
need to go to yeah, yeah." I was like, anyone else dreaming that they're touring this like virtual platform? Everyone was like, "No," and I'm like, I'm in it all night." So anyway,
Shit.
so
You
then
don't get paid
I
enough for that.
yeah,
Nuh-uh.
yeah. And then I went to Tulum. I was in Playa del Carmen, and Tulum is an hour away. This is while Tulum was becoming what everyone now knows as Instagram. But I've had a spiritual relationship with Tulum for a long time. So I was like, go to Tulum, stay on the beach, clear your head. And then when I got back, and so I did that for like 3 days, got back to Playa, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna leave this job. When I got back, a friend hit me up. She was like, "Hey, there's this other job. Like, there's this job. Like, we're hiring someone, whatever, whatever." But anyway, so I just remembered. I like reflected on that yesterday. I was like, just remember that you're like a magical person, and that because I don't feel stress. That's the thing. When my when I got like my job got like let us all go, everyone else was freaking out and stressing out, and I haven't felt stressed, and I don't want to be in that space. I'm just
Yeah.
like in the space of like it's been nice first of all just to have a break and get back to me, get back to doing yoga, um I'm doing a lot of chores.
Chia
That's what really
seeds.
yeah. Yeah, drinking chia seeds and moringa powder and
Yeah.
just
Moringa powder is so good.
well, yeah, I mean it's a gas factory over here, but whatever.
You're
I have some
releasing. You're
Oh
releasing.
yeah, I'm creating and releasing. I'm like, this is why. That's why I think I'm like, this is why you're single, dude. You eat too healthily, and it stinks. But anyway, but like just being, and also just to be able to like have. I've never had time to just be an artist my
Yeah.
whole life. Like so, this is the old like the past 2 months. I'm like, this is the first time that I've been like without being able to just live and do without thinking about is someone gonna like check in with me? Is someone gonna say like, hey, we saw this clip and goes against blah blah blah? Especially since I've always had customer facing roles. So as soon as I found out, I like closed my work laptop and I was like, that's that. Okay, like now's the time to like be able to just really like do and be able to like really like create and be able to like put my comedy out more, be able to even like with my gallery show, I did have to do it somewhat clandestine because I'm like, I don't want my boss being like, "Did you have a show of your new like is your coochie on the wall in Brooklyn? Like what is this?" And then
No.
having to and then, like, be like, yeah, I mean, I don't want you to come see it. I'm not gonna invite you, but yeah, I did put my coochie on the wall. But so yeah, I've just been in this space of like, okay, let's like create and guide. But then also I've been doing comedy, like I said, for like 2 months, but then I was like, you need to like take time to like slow that down and focus because I do think that my show, it's not, I should explain to everyone listening, it's not just purely like, oh, there's her coochie. Part of it is basically somebody in 2019, someone took a video of me without my consent and put it on Pornhub. And
Ugh.
then someone else saw that video, and then he contacted me because we never met in person. We'd matched on Tinder, we'd FaceTimed a couple times. Like I figured out from a dick pic that he was cheating on his girl or attempting to. I was like, that's not single man's
Oh my
furniture.
God.
Like this is a living room set. You live with a woman, and that's not your mom. I don't see any, like, he was Dominican. I was like, I don't see any like pictures of Jesus and lacy curtains in the
Oh
background.
my
You
God.
like
You
live
have
with a
more than one
woman.
pillow and sheets that are not just like that
Yeah,
are
yeah,
actually
yeah,
clean.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I was like, and then like the lighting was like dark. I'm like, he took this thing in the morning, probably before, like while she was asleep in the living room. Like
Gross.
I just figured it out. Anyway, but that guy ended up like telling me like, hey, there's this video of you. I saw it on Pornhub. He reported it. Then did guilt me into giving him some money. But anyway, it just created a bunch of
Oh,
yeah. We
shit. Yeah.
yeah. But it created a lot of paranoia in me about nudes that I had sent out consensually. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all you need is one. I don't know how many countries people have my cooch, tits, everything. I don't know. I just live, a bitch has got to live. So, but I was like, it just takes one person to then maybe like have something and then just be waiting for
Yeah.
my career to hit a certain point. So that was the impetus of the show of like, if I just do this myself, then nobody in the future can like try to blackmail me.
Yeah.
While I was working on it though, I had the idea, the name of the show is erotic art for ungrateful men. So I had the idea,
I love
and
that.
then in the height of like the pandemic, and then like the year after the pandemic, men had already been through all the porn on the internet. So then they were just kept turning more and more and more to just regular women who were making no money off of it,
Yeah.
and they had a lot of opinions. And so there's the visual component, and then there's also the text of conversations that I've had with men. And because, yeah, men have a lot to say. It's not always positive. You send a man your tits, he doesn't necessarily just say thank you. He'll have his little, like, oh, I want to see this. I want to see. It's like, a lot of men, their experience with women tends to be how they want that to go, so that they get to, they literally, what I'm going to look up and I want to
Control.
see this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand like culturally why this has happened, but I also have no patience for it. And so I'm like, but I thought it was important to incorporate that into the
Yeah.
piece, because I don't think people understand truly how
Yeah.
women are spoken to. I don't think men truly get like, yeah, like, because most men are not that terrible, but it's like, yeah, no, this is still very much like how someone will speak to a woman who is comfortable with herself and her
Yeah.
sexuality, but then also, is still just seen as like
An
an
object.
object.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was the whole impetus of people. But I did that. For me, that's like as I can always go to a bar and tell some jokes, but my gallery show is like where I'm like, I need to put my attention into that for like the next month, and just really um just create whatever media I need to, and
Yeah.
figure out and talk to, and da 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 da.
I
This is actually
love
perfect timing.
how you just flip the script. Okay, if I'm going to be exposed, you're going to be exposed too, along with me. How you guys
Yeah.
really think, how you guys really act. And this, I just, I, if I could get my ass out of Jersey City past 6 p.m., I would have been there. I
Oh
really would
yeah,
have.
I
I was
mean, it
totally
was just
planning
a
on being there.
pop up, so that's
I
the other
know,
thing.
but you're gonna
And
do this again.
yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah.
expanding this.
I wanted to be in just a regular gallery, because
Yeah.
my thing is I'm very good at doing something 80%. And I was like, you have to, like last year, I was like, just get it done. Like, just do it, just get it done.
Yeah.
And then you can do whatever in the future. But I really pushed myself, and it was very, very stressful and very isolating, because I would get photos back and be like, oh shit, this looks great. Put it in the frame, and I'm like, oh, this looks great. And then I'm like, well, I can't send it to my friends. And be like, look at it, 12 by 16 titties. Like, you know what I mean? So I like was working on the show, and it became more and more isolating the more progress that I had. So I'm like, oh, it's looking great. No one's gonna see it until it's like out in
What's
the
out
like
in
on a
the
gallery wall. I mean,
That's
some
an
of the men.
interesting dynamic, like a new dynamic to experience it. I mean, I just want to know how was it? How did you feel when the night of when you had the pop up?
Yeah, it was very surreal. Actually, this goes back to what you were saying about not hearing message, like not being able to hear, because I guess it was surreal because people really took me seriously as a photographer,
Yeah.
which I had been taking photos like since like 2004, just like taking photos. Like actually right behind me there's a photo wall. Like all the, if you see like
Oh
the
yeah, I can
the
kind of see
blurred
it.
out,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
are all photos from I spent a lot of time in Cuba, so those are all photos from Cuba and like all over my house.
Yeah.
I've always had like just photos. Uh, but most of my friends just never knew because that was pre-comedy. So most of my friends just like never knew about how I always say like I expressed how I saw the world visually first before I started talking about it. So I guess that was like the plot twist of like my like people just really asking me questions as a photographer was like, oh, I didn't expect that. No one, I was not, I was surprised nobody tried to fuck me afterwards. That was a little disappointing. I gotta say. I mean, it's kind of like the complete opposite where I'm like, I mean, this is my bread and butter. This is how I, build international rosters of dick. And then everyone was just like, how did you take this shot? And I'm like, what?
Oh
Let's
my
talk cum
God.
shots. What's going on? Nobody wants to fuck me. Anyway, but no, it was great. But then you know what also happened? So I had it for 2 days in November, October.
Yeah.
So I had it for Thursday, Friday, and then I woke up Saturday morning, and Saturday morning was October 7th. So then everything,
Shit.
yeah, yeah, just like,
You didn't
so
even
like
have a day to like
no, not at
digest
all.
it.
Because
Oh
the company
shit.
I worked for, also I worked for Israelis. So I like woke
Oh my
up,
God.
looked on Slack and saw like a message about like safety and hoping everyone's fine because the development team was in Tel Aviv. And I was like,
Shit.
what happened? So then I was just completely propelled in a completely different space.
Oh my God.
Which was pretty weird for my black ass to be like, all of a sudden, I'm like, how am I so close to the conflict? But yeah, like someone asked me like maybe like 2 weeks after the show, they were like, "Hey, how are you feeling after your show?" And I was like, what?
You're like,
I'm
what
like,
show?
yeah, I was
When
like,
was that?
oh, I don't fucking know. But then also part of me, the comic in me was like butterfly effect. I'm like, it's what happens. Too much freedom in America. Put your tits and your pussy on the wall. Next day, chaos in the Middle East. I was like,
Oh
okay.
my.
The the world has to restore balance somehow. But yeah. So it took me yeah, just it was
But
just
your pussy is gonna restore that fucking balance, right? Everybody.
you know
It's
what? It's
time.
gonna, we're gonna do what we do, which is probably upset, please, and break some hearts. So
Yeah.
that's
I love it.
that's what's gonna happen. But yeah, no, this is like yeah, I've been this is like totally in line of like where I am at.
Good.
I'm glad that trust issues did. I mean, it all really comes as it always does. Everything always comes back to like your family life. I don't have a connection with my family, and
Yeah.
so like that's obviously where a lot of my trust issues come from. But also, I think when it comes to people complimenting, I am not. I've never had like I mean, growing up, there was a bit of it was conditional love. It was definitely love and judgment, and
Yeah.
like yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's hard for me to like take it in and believe when
Yeah.
someone is being complimentary because I'm always like, is there a but? Is this real?
Yeah.
I'm not like used to a baseline of that type of
Yeah.
acceptance or like praise. So I always say that kindness is my weakness. If someone's kind to me, that's what'll make me like my birthdays. I can't do anything because I'm just like I'll just see someone be like, oh, I'm so grateful. I'm just like, oh, like it like completely
Sir.
melts me as a person. But it takes me a
Yeah.
long time. I have a Capricorn moon, so it's taking me a long time to allow myself to
Oh.
have emotions.
Holy cow. That's
Yeah.
That's a tug. That's so strong. Oh, no wonder there's so much strength there.
That's the foible part. That's the no
Oh yeah.
foibles or liabilities part.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, don't
But
fuck
the
up.
I like that the whole, like, one of the keys to learning how to trust the compliment is to hold yourself accountable. And you had mentioned something like you do everything 80%, which I find difficult to believe, but I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think that we have a culture that is like, do it all the way, go hard, and like very intense with that. But I think that's okay as long as you're setting your expectations, like, I'm gonna hold myself accountable
Yeah,
to doing that 80%. Look at me with my,
yeah.
and thank God for that. And I'd be interested to hear how that helps with the trust stuff.
That's a good way
It's
to
like,
see
not,
it.
I wouldn't have thought that that would help the trust. So I'm curious to see how that goes. If
That is, I guess
you
that's a good way to see it. Like, I mean, I do a lot of stuff, so it's not like I do
no.
everything. But there are certain things where it's like I've like started, and then I'll get to a certain point, and then I won't finish it. Even working on this, like, I mean, I was working, doing comedy like Thursday through Saturday, and then working on like learning Photoshop, because I just take photos.
Yeah.
I've never edited them, but then I would print them and I'm like, okay, I then need to, like, fix the grain or the color, print it out this way or whatever. Or then I started using Photoshop. I had more ideas, started making posters, da da da. But I mean, there was like two
Dude,
weeks
you did
out.
it all
I was
yourself though. Like, you
Yeah.
literally taught yourself Photoshop. I can't look at Photoshop. I don't understand it so much. But like, you, I think there's a reframing that needs to happen, because you're doing all of that yourself. You've got photographers who are exhibiting in galleries. They're not doing all that shit themselves.
Oh,
They're not doing the print. They might not be doing the printing, the retouching, whatever. So, I mean, give yourself a break there. It's like
thank you.
you're doing it all yourself, and you did it. Like, you
Yeah,
legit did it.
thank you. Yeah, no, it's I guess you know what it is though. Like, I come
Like the
from
guy
a
who
line of
flew in, the Hamas guy that flew in, like, over the, or like the jet ski guys, they have you to thank for that. I don't know where that.
yeah.
This is why I'm not a comedian, everybody. I don't.
I
That
think
makes
you know
sense.
what it is. I've just come from a line of women who've like always done a lot. That's what I've started to realize too, where I'm like, this is just like the precedence that was set for me. So, oh, but then sometimes I'm like, no, my grandmother had whatever. They also had help. That's one thing I'm starting to remember. Is I'm like, yeah, they also had people that they
Yeah.
relied on to help them out. But yeah, I mean, also just the nature of it too, though. It was just like, I can't trust someone else. I mean, the whole thing came from my trust being violated. So it's like I can't like outsource. Even now, like, I'm working on the
I
website, and I'm
know.
like, I could easily outsource that, but I don't know if someone's gonna, actually do what I want. And actually, in doing the show,
Yeah.
I had a photographer, and I told the photographer not to take any photos of my work,
Yeah.
and it was very clear what the environment was. Nobody could have their phones out. Everyone had their phones. I had made these bags, so everyone put their phones in the bags. You couldn't have your phones out.
Yeah.
La da da da. And that photographer, who is a comedy photographer that a lot of us, in New York use and know, he definitely took photos not only of my work, not many photos of me. And then I felt like I was on this creepy path of he's obviously obsessed with this one comic because he took a lot of photos of her. But I'm like, I
Oh.
like got, and also a photo of another comedian giving a double thumbs up to in front of my poster that's called Nine Pussy Comments, and it's the same photo and nine different comments. But that's not the vibe. You know what I mean? Like, clearly not the vibe.
That's
Um,
really shitty that they broke your trust like that.
yeah,
That's
I was like, okay, and here we are, and
uh,
like, I definitely tell people about it, and I'm not like, because
yeah.
it's not like I'm bullshitting. I have the photos to be like, look at
Yeah.
these photos. Like, and other people said like, yeah, we were surprised when I can't watch everything he was doing.
Yeah.
I had worked with him before, so I trusted him. But at the same time, it's like so anyway, I said that to say like I kind of had to do all of the work.
Yeah.
And even now, like in creating the website, I'm just like, yeah, I feel like I still need to have control and do this for now because I don't want somebody just like I don't know what someone's gonna do,
With it.
like
It's too
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
too it's too personal to have to allow someone to. I mean, you would think that giving instructions to someone who's photographing your event, who's used to photographing events, would listen to your instructions. I almost feel
Yeah.
like that's a whole nother gallery exhibit
Yeah,
where
yeah. I
it's
was
like
like,
a picture of where you said, please don't take pictures of of the stuff, and then like a
yeah.
photo of that he took of your stuff. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
like also they weren't also I'm just like, hey man, you see that I'm a photographer. Take better photos of me at least. It's like that's the thing I was like, at least maybe they're good photos of me from the event. I'm like, these photos are terrible. And you know that I know how to the whole show is of me. So obviously, if I know how to make myself look good, you should be able to make me look good because you are also a photographer. So there's many layers to like it being like, what this was a waste of time and money, but lesson learned and
yeah,
you know, but anyway,
that's so annoying.
but now that I also don't have a job, I'm like, let's blow this the shit the fuck up. I want everyone to see my pussy. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's fucking go, because I think there's a lot of things that I want to have conversations about, which, just like etiquette and receiving nudes. Men send terrible nudes. I'm never rude about it because they don't have to send it to me. Nobody
On
they're
the
choosing.
toilet.
Yeah, blurry.
I can see that you're clearly like taking a dump. You thought
Yeah,
this would be a great time and no one would know.
exactly. Like just usually they're usually pretty terrible. But I always say thank you because they didn't have to send me their dick. At the end of the day, that's still they still chose to do that. And then but then at the same time, if you're like, great, now I want to see him, like, no,
You know?
you ask in a nicer way. Like there should
Yeah.
be basic etiquette, but then also,
Yeah.
uh, there's also a lot of politics behind as a black woman and as a black woman who's not like I have a grown I'm a hefty woman, like my body is still not represented a lot.
Yeah.
And black women, we very rarely get to see ourselves the way that we see ourselves.
Yeah.
So as I started working on it more and more and more, I just thought to myself, I'm like, it is important for someone to see like this is how I see myself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get photos back from photographers, and I'm like, I look like a caricature. I don't look like a person. I don't look like an attractive woman. I
Yeah.
don't look like. I just look like a caricature of like a loud black woman. I'm like, that's how that photographer sees me, and I know because I shoot other
Yeah.
people. So I'm like, to even just be able to say like, this is how I see myself. This is how I want to represent. This is how I represent myself sexually. This
Yeah.
is how, and that's a very important part too of like for me with nudes is like, I want men to understand like this is, I don't care like whatever you see on Tinder, this is me. This is who I am, and this is the person that you're going to be having sex with. I'm not a timid woman. I'm very comfortable with myself. I'm a creative. I'm a sensual person. I'm very confident. Like that's and there are men. One of my favorite quotes is a man said, "Your nudes are intimidating," and I was like, well, get ready. Like you're
Best
intimidated
answer
by a
possible.
photo. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
intimidated by a photo. Well, how the fuck are you gonna handle us actually hooking up? But yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
that I do feel like that is. I mean, once again, comedy is. I love comedy, but I have been like I need to be focused on pushing everything forward
Yeah.
without I'm thinking in Spanish. Sorry.
That was
Without
awesome. I love it.
without any
Sí, sí.
sin pena. Like without
No
worrying
fucks,
about
no fucks to
yeah,
give.
yeah, yeah,
You're the strength, like you hold the strength in your hands.
yeah.
You really do. It's like it's like so expressive just with everything, with the photography, with even, getting your hands stronger or having weaker hands when you were younger. It's like the strength really is in your hands, holding that
Mm,
camera, you know, doing everything yourself.
mm.
And I keep seeing, like, noticing your lovely yellow sweatshirt, because it's like,
Uh,
I'm like, that's power chakra. That's the stomach chakra, like the yellow.
mm,
It's like a very powerful color. I literally
you
just ordered
know,
like 5 yellow shirts like 2 days ago. I was like, I need
ow.
yellow in my life.
You know what's funny? I was gonna put on a black sweatshirt. I was like, let me put on a more positive color.
That
So I
looks
put
great.
on yellow, and then I always put my nails gold, but I didn't have time. It's
Yeah.
like right here. I was like, all right. I'm like, you're the zoom's updated. There's no time to paint your nails. It's not a big
No.
deal. I'm like, it's fine.
The sweatshirt. It's all good. It's like, that's the power. Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. This
Oh
has
my god,
been
thank you. This has been
I
amazing.
I love talking to you. I mean, I adore you. I was so happy to have you on
Oh,
Sacred Comedy, and just to
thank
know
you.
you, and now even more so. So,
Yeah, now you
um
know my higher self too.
I do. Thank you so much, Christiana. This
Thank you
has
so much
just
for
been
having me.
so,
This was
yeah.
so lovely.
Oh, good. I'm so happy. So
I
where
really
can everybody
appreciate it.
yeah, where can everybody find you?
So on Instagram and then also on TikTok, which I barely use TikTok, but I will hold myself accountable. Uh I have to do less chores. That's the thing. I get caught up in chores. Then I'm like, oh, the day is over, and now I
So
have to run the
fun.
shows. But
Oh,
um,
shit.
but it's no, it's not. I need to do less chores. But anyway, it's incomparable MSC on Instagram and TikTok. Facebook is dying, but it's just my name on Facebook. But I mean, it's dying. So
Yeah. I'll have links for that in the show notes. So,
okay, cool.
this has been awesome. Thank you for being the first reading I've ever done. Oh my God.
Thank you.
My ring light was just flashing. That was creepy. Don't do that. Stop it. I don't care if you're a ghost. Like, fuck you. Stop it.